Again, welcome to come out here. This is great. We've been doing this kind of road show. We've been going around to the different HOAs. We have staff that shows up. They answer basically as many questions as possible. You'll see tonight's format is they're going to come up, they're going to speak for about 6 or 7 minutes, talk about what they do, and they'll take a couple questions while they're up, but then they'll also be sticking around to answer questions at the end. So just kind of picture this as like a speed dating event. So you're going to get, each department head's going to come up, they're going to present themselves, you're going to see if you like them or not, ask them some questions, and then we'll move on to the next one. So that's what we're going to be doing. And with that being said, there's really not much to say other than thank you for taking the time to just learn about what we have going on here in Prescott Valley. A lot of people just really don't quite know, and they don't understand if they have an opportunity to figure out what is actually happening. And I promise you, when you leave here tonight, that you are going to feel so much better about the professionals that help lead your town. So with that being said, folks, again, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to introduce to you the man who basically drives this bus every single day, Gilbert Davison. He is our town manager, and he's an incredible individual who needs to have a lot of credit for what's happening here in Prescott Valley. So let's give Gilbert a round of applause.
Thank you, Mayor, and welcome. We are so excited to have you here. And as the Mayor said, hopefully when you walk out of here tonight, you have some deeper knowledge of some really exciting initiatives and things that we're doing here in Prescott Valley. We'll take any question on things that we're going to be presenting here tonight, or if there's other topics anyone wants to raise, we're certainly here to do that. Before I kick off with a video to kind of set the stage, I do want to recognize a number of our council members that are here. We've got a great council. We have Councilmember Schumacher, Councilmember Keel, and I know some of our others wanted to be here. And as the Mayor indicated, we've been trying to get out into the community, going to different neighborhood areas and giving the same presentation. So we thank the members of the council for being here and just their commitment and service to the broader community. So with that, we're going to kick it off with a video that hopefully brings some pride and just positive feelings about your town. This video was debuted at our annual State of the Town address, and it just kind of captures some images and things of great things that are taking place throughout the whole community. So we'll roll that.
In 2024, we had a vision to deliver exceptional service to enhance our quality of life. This is PV in Focus. Focus on service. Focus on innovation. Focus on people. Focus on community.
All right, just some good images of our community and some, from whether it's businesses that are operating in the town to, the images of the high school. A lot of great things that are taking place throughout all of Prescott Valley. So I could literally spend the next hour alone talking on this slide, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to quickly highlight what it is, and you will get kind of a flavor of some of the things that are taking place by each of the presenters that we're going to have that's embedded into the town strategic plan. So our town council adopted a strategic plan a few years ago. We've done a major update to it. We'll do another update in a year or so. And it's comprised of 4 focus areas. And the first is what we call being a high-performing team. And what that entails basically is the investments that we're making in our staff who do the work as public servants to serve all of you. Whether it's our police officers, our building inspectors, our accountants, so all the people that work every day on your behalf to make sure that we have a good community. And if we don't invest in our people, then, we get what we get. And so we want to make sure that we've got the best and brightest that we are trying to attract and retain for the long run to make sure that we've got a great community. And so there's a number of strategies that we have in there to make sure we're doing just that. The second focus area is what we call land and water, or water and land stewardship. This is very important. This is obviously a topic I think that we hear a lot about in this community on the waterfront. What is the town doing to really protect our water resources and make sure that we've got sufficient water resources for future generations? And so there's a number of I think, really cutting edge, innovative things that we're doing on that front we'll highlight tonight. On the land side, we'll also have a presentation on that of looking at, all of us moved to Prescott Valley. It wasn't like you were forced here. No one drew a number and said, oh, you have to go live in this community. You chose to come here. And probably like you and me, when you first drive into the area, it's beautiful. You've got the beautiful mountain ranges. You've got, open grassland areas. It's a very special part of Arizona. And so we want to make sure we're preserving that. And so that whole part of that focus area is how do we preserve some of those wildlife corridors and open space areas. And so we'll have a whole presentation on that. The quality of life is just that. It's all the things that make living in a community that much more special. So whether it's really good public safety efforts, investment in our infrastructure, roads and sidewalks and other infrastructure that help us to get around, housing. So it's all of those types of things that comprise the quality of life of the community. And the final area is what we call prosperous community, and that's jobs. How do we attract higher wage jobs to this community to invest in this community? And so we'll highlight a few strategies that we're doing on that front. So with that, I am going to turn it over to our first presenter, Tracy Lyra with Neighborhood Services.
Thanks, Gilbert. All right, see if I can do a remote and a mic. All right, so Neighborhood Services is a fairly new division for the town. We were only created in October of 2023. We have 4 departments: our code compliance, animal services, housing services, and community engagement. While we're on the slide, I do want to point out our toolbox that we have. So our code team has tools available to the public to borrow for free. So if you need help with doing your weeds, we have weed eaters, we have brush hogs, we have lawnmowers, and other various tools. So you can always come into our office. We're actually directly across from the library here, and borrow those tools anytime. And then I also want to talk about our community engagement. We have a great new program launching tomorrow for sign up. It's our household hazardous waste program. So we've been getting a lot of requests for how do we get rid of our paint? How do we get rid of our pesticides, our pool chemicals? So now you can go on, tomorrow it will be up live on our website where you can sign up and request a pickup of those products. So pickup will be sometime in November, so we're going to collect those signups through the month of October. So look for that soon. So more about our code compliance team. They help enforce zoning laws. They deal with nuisance violations. They do help with neighborhood cleanups. And we do a lot of various HOA engagements with this team. The most common concerns we see are weed violations, so weeds growing too tall, trailers or RVs being parked in the front area, sign issues. Some other issues that aren't on this slide that we deal with are abandoned vehicles, commercial vehicles being parked in their yard, open storage, and no permit for accessory structures. So we do want to bring light to those issues. Next is our animal services team. They have a brand new look. We're super excited about them. So this is them in their new uniform. So if you see them around town, they're looking sharp. Hopefully you got to see their announcement. It was kind of a cute video. But animal services, they deal with our licensing of animals, and that includes tracking of vaccinations, making sure that our animals are vaccinated from rabies. We do animal cruelty investigations. We deal with dog bites, animals at large, so just running off leash. And we're trying to do a lot of education and community engagement. The more the community knows about the laws and how to work with your animal, the less we're likely to see these issues. Some of the most common concerns we see are barking dog complaints. So your neighbor may have a barking dog all day. Give us a call, we'll take care of it. Dogs off leash. Leash is a state and town law. You do need to have your dog on a 6-foot leash. Those corded leashes really aren't up to code. And dog licensing vaccination. So I do want to say we have a great program to get your animal vaccinated. It's called DocuPet. You can go right online, or you can come into our office across the way, and we'd be happy to license you. So that is it for us. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Joel, our emergency manager.
Thank you, Tracy. Hello, everyone. My name is Joel Schieffer. I am the emergency manager for the town of Prescott Valley. One of the first things that happens when I tell someone I'm the emergency manager or I work in emergency management is they give me kind of a blank stare and say, okay, now what does that mean? What does that do? So the textbook definition of what emergency management is the process and methodology of protecting communities from hazards and disasters that encompass prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. So that's a mouthful, but what that really means is I act as a point person for emergencies and disasters. I work as a liaison and work with the police department, the fire departments. I handle the updates and the writing of our emergency operations plans, our continuity of operations plans, and really anything like that that kind of comes down to being emergency or preparedness related. There are a couple of things I wanted to talk with you about tonight. You may have already heard this because we're trying to push it pretty hard. There are also flyers there at the front desk, so if you didn't grab one on your way in, please grab one on your way out. The first is our RAVE emergency notification system. This is actually not a new system, but we're kind of doing a new rollout of it, a new promotion of it. Some details of it have changed. There are multiple ways you can sign up for it. You can go to PrescottValleyAlerts.gov. You can scan this QR code. You can go to smart911.com, or you can download the Smart 911 app. This is the primary means that we will use to contact you in times of emergency with our official messaging. You can get a lot of that messaging also from social media, but this we can push notifications out to your email, your phone numbers, your cell phone number, text messaging, things like that. They are very secure with all their information, very privacy concerned, and they do not actually even share your information with me. So you can rest assured signing up for that your information will be secure. One of our changes that we've done this year is we are now on a unified system along with the City of Prescott and Town of Prescott Valley and others in the area. The Yavapai County Sheriff's Office is beginning to use this system this fall, and many others within the area use this. So when you sign up, there's actually boxes you can check to see where you want to receive notifications from. One of the other topics that I wanted to talk to you about is the Genesis Protect evacuation notification system and kind of tracking app. These are two completely different apps and two completely different programs. What Genesis Protect does is it tells you what area that you're in within Prescott Valley, and it can send you notifications through the app, but its primary use is for you to go in and look at, see what area you're in, what the current status is of your area, if you should be evacuating, if you should be sheltering in place, if you should be ready to go, or if you should actually be going. There are some other features that we can do to this. It's a big, heavy mapping app. So for example, for our red, white, and boom that we had, I put in there road closures, parking areas, things like that. So if you'd have pulled up that app, you could have seen in relative real time what roads were closed and where you should be trying to go. Both of these apps are free. Town of Prescott Valley pays for it, so you can access this type of stuff for free. There is actually no sign up that you need to do for the Genesis Protect app. You can go right now and just look at the map. And one of the biggest things that both of these apps really work from is that you have your location services enabled. So again, for those that are tracking conscious, that doesn't allow us to see your location or anything like that. It just has to be enabled so it can send you notifications, so it can push you notifications to say, hey, you're in this area and you shouldn't be, you need to evacuate. And that's useful if you're traveling around town and you happen to drive into a place that might be evacuating. You can also set up addresses for your workplace, for relatives, for family members, if you want to know what's going on in their area, or if you think that they might need to be evacuating, you can kind of set up and follow other places there. Finally, just wanted to talk to you about a little bit of preparedness information. So one of the often overlooked points of preparedness is to create some sort of family communications plan. You might not be able to communicate with your loved ones, your husband, wife, anyone in this area, but you might be able to communicate out of the area. So I always recommend that you have an out-of-state contact, an out-of-the-area contact that you can check in with and say, hey, we've evacuated, but I'm okay. And then any loved ones or family can contact that same person and find out what's going on. Another thing is to create an emergency preparedness kit. For years and years, you probably heard, oh, you need 3 days food, 3 days water to be able to survive. But emergencies and disasters over the last decade have really shown us that if you're really in a disaster area, you might need more like 2 weeks to survive. So we're really pushing everyone to have 2 weeks food, 2 weeks water, 2 weeks prescriptions, things like that, so you can kind of self-sustain and be able to take care of yourself. We talked about the sign up for RAVE and Genesis Protect. Those are both very important. There are some areas within the Prescott Valley area that may be challenging to evacuate. And I urge everyone to drive around, know your areas, know your locations, know your evacuation routes, and be able to know that how you can get out of those areas if you have to in an emergency. And then finally, join whatever local volunteer organizations you can. Red Cross is always looking for people. You can always contact me at the town, and I can put you in touch with some volunteer organizations. Anyway, that's about it from me. I'm going to pass this on to Stacy. We changed the order of the program. So Stacy.
This one. Hi there, I'm Stacy Bristow. I'm the Interim Development Services Director, so thank you for having me here today. I get to talk about this fabulous team. It's my second week here, so little grace on as I do this presentation. But before I start, I do want to say that everything that we do in development services with the 3 divisions, planning, zoning, development engineering, and building and safety, cannot be done without every single department in this organization. It's an amazing team. There's a lot of collaboration and cooperation that has to happen. And we can't function and be a high-functioning team without all the other departments. And so I've been really impressed. I come from a long line of consulting background, and I get to see this in organizations all over the country. And I can tell you, hands down, this is a pretty phenomenal team. And I don't cite that very often, and most of my speeches are public, and you can check that. So just want to say thanks for that. So those are our 3 divisions. That is our small and mighty team. What we do in development services, we guide residents with home projects. Home projects can be something small, like bringing a shed in or doing a new fence or doing a small remodel, to adding a secondary unit on the property. We support businesses coming into the town with town standards. That could be anything from a brand new business or a business expansion or a change of business. We set and enforce community design and safety codes. We implement the town's general plan that was recently adopted. If any of you participated in that, it was a big lift. We know that. It's great for guiding our community. So I want to say thanks for participating in that process. We really appreciate it. And then we do long range planning, and John is here and he's going to talk about some of the great stuff we're doing in long range planning. The numbers on the bottom, I think, are kind of helpful for the community to see sort of what the process looks like and how much work we do. The applications that are issued, 2,300, people look at that sometimes and go, wow, does that mean, growth? What does that look like? Applications are everything from every time you're looking at to do a new roof, a new water heater, all those different kinds of things. So those are a lot of applications for those kinds of things, supporting the homeowners. So that's how many we did since January. We've supported 248 residential certificates of occupancy, meaning that has been deemed safe, which is our priority for you to occupy the house. So 248 more homes, and then 30 commercial certificates of occupancy for businesses. So development engineering is one of our divisions. They coordinate with the town engineer and external agencies. They review and do inspections in the field as well. This is a man of mighty one, by the way, that we have for engineering. And then we have construction support for development projects. We also have the building safety unit. This is probably an area that most people are more familiar with. So while they do plan review, while they do permitting, inspection is a really big component of it. These are the inspectors that go out and make sure that when you step onto the balcony, you're good to go. So we like these guys a lot. They do a lot of good stuff for us. And with that, we're going to look ahead to long-range planning. So I'm going to bring up my senior planner, John, to talk about that.
Thank you very much, Stacy. Again, John Jacobson, Principal Planner in Development Services. My background, a little bit, 3 decades as a landscape architect in the consulting world. And I've really enjoyed, sometimes I think I get to enjoy more than others. I feel a little bit selfish, but the things that you see here, I'm primarily involved in, along with some of the other things that Stacy mentioned. But looking ahead, we talk about principal planner's role primarily being long range or long view, looking ahead. A couple of the things that you see here. If you look at the process improvement initiatives, that's one of the initiatives we have going. Show of hands of anybody that's submitted for a building permit or zoning permit in the last year. We have one, but well, good. You have something to look forward to. We've instituted a portal, and it makes it much more seamless to communicate with you folks and with the applicants, but it also goes downstream. So our plan reviewers are using electronic software to review the plans and communicate back with you. So again, much more efficient, much more accurate. We're always looking to improve our customer or applicant experience. So that's a focus that we're looking at. The wildlife corridor, as it sounds, is a really interesting and involved process. The graphic that you see here, the 2 phases that we go through are mentioned. The foundation plan is as it sounds, collect the data, identify sensitive areas, whether it's wildlife, vegetation, different species. Last year, we wrapped up the foundation plan at the end of the fiscal year. So at the end of June, we wrapped that up, and we're now moving into phase 2, which I call the plan proper. And really, as it sounds, we'll look at those sensitive areas, look at where they exist, and try to connect the dots. It's not only a travel corridor, like I said, you're looking at habitats, ecosystems, and how they all work together. And what we'll really intentionally do this year is begin to define the limits of this corridor, we call it. And what's interesting about that is we're learning along the way is think about if you picture it as an overlay, this corridor where wildlife is, sensitive areas that I mentioned, it goes over land of different owners. So a lot of the focus is what's that process? If it's state land, what's their process for either having an easement over their property or is it by right if you have private owners? So there will be a lot of negotiating and investigating how we apply this. But as you expect, it's about sustainability. And we talk about, that's the simple, if you distill it down, and sustainable ecosystems, habitats, wildlife, they need to be sustained as we view it. And sustainable, Gilbert mentioned in the strategic plan, sustainable land stewardship. What are we doing with the open land or even developed land? How does the wildlife, vegetation, people, we talk about quality of life. Let's not forget that animals have a quality of life that we look at. So it's kind of an interesting way to look at it. But that's really the focus, is sustainable land stewardship, which includes, if somebody comes to town or an applicant and they have a vision of what they'd like to do, we can roll this out, we can negotiate, and we can work with them to arrive at a sustainable solution. So that's what we're looking at. The last piece is another study that we're doing. You may be familiar with the Urban Land Institute, ULI, as they're known. It's a global professional society made up of developers, architects, landscape architects, planners, been around for decades. They offer a program named ASTAP. It's Arizona Technical Advisory Panel. What we do is engage them, and they engage citizens. We provide all of past studies, the wildlife corridor from last year. They review everything. And the panel is made up of folks that are professionals, like I mentioned. They're specifically selected for the scope that we defined working with them. So we're looking at opportunities, whether it's business, whether it's conservation, but the two focus is housing and business opportunities. So we'll have those experts come, review everything that we have. And one of the reasons it's called panel, we have panel day coming up next Monday. After they reviewed everything, we've had a couple of meetings, we have stakeholders identified. They come to town and do a tour. So we're taking all day Monday. We tour them around, show them the town. Most of them have been here ramping up to this panel day, and they just get in a room and lock the door, and they review everything. They kick it around amongst themselves. They can ask us questions, and they go away and prepare a report or a study based on their knowledge and expertise on some next steps that we should take and inform us of that. So we're really excited about that. We're in the throes of that. Like I said, Monday, we'll host the panel day. We have a van that we put everybody in. The panel's made up of 15 professionals, and then we have staff that's supporting. So it's really interesting, but this is a program that's been around for a very long time, and we're fortunate. You have to apply to qualify for this program, and we're very fortunate, and we recognize that we're able to have them come and provide this service. So what I'd like to do is have our town engineer come up, John Latier, and he'll go over a few things that he's working on. There you go. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm John, I'm the town engineer. As the town engineer, I support all the departments in terms of all the engineering elements and the various projects that they work on, but I'm actually located as part of the Public Works Department. Under the Public Works Department, we manage all of what you would think of in terms of public works, all the infrastructure that you see and work with every day, streets, roads, sidewalks, drainages, all of those elements. In the Public Works Department, we have a streets crew that takes care of all the road maintenance and sidewalk repairs, all the things that you see as you're out moving around town. We have a drainage crew that goes out and responds to storm drain issues. And we also have a traffic crew that takes care of signing, striping, traffic signals, and all the operations that you see on a day-to-day basis. Without getting into a whole lot, because we do quite a bit in public works. Again, it's just about everything you see as you move around town. But one of the biggest projects we have going right now is our Glassford Hill Road widening project. That's going to be widening Glassford Hill from 2 lanes, from 4 lanes to 6 lanes, from 2 lanes in each direction to 3 lanes in each direction. It will go from Long Look Drive all the way up to the junction of State Route 89A. And we have a picture here to show you a little bit about what the road typical section would be. You'll see 3 lanes in each direction. The existing median will remain in place. You'll see a 5-foot sidewalk on the outside, which would be the southbound lanes. That would be the west side. Each direction will also have 5-foot paved shoulders to be used for bike lanes. And then on the east side, which is the northbound lanes, we'll have a 10-foot shared use path. And that shared use path will extend from Santa Fe Loop up to almost to the junction of State Route 89A, where it becomes state property at that point. I guess I will keep it brief tonight and turn it over to economic development, which looks like it's going to be covered by Gilbert.
I'm filling in tonight. So our 2 team members for economic development are actually at a conference. There's conferences for everything. For retailers and restaurants. And so they're out there trying to see if they can recruit new types of restaurants and other retail amenities for our community. So you have me tonight to talk about economic development. As one of our primary focus areas with, being a prosperous community, I want to give you kind of a statistic that, it needs to really kind of sink in of the challenge that we have. So our median income in this community is several $1,000s below the state average. Our housing costs are way above the state average. And so that creates quite a challenge when we're trying to attract police officers, teachers, nurses, doctors, other, people to move into the community and be a part of our town, to live in our community. And so the focus that our team does with economic development is absolutely critical. And we're primarily focused on manufacturing, industry, technology, those types of things. We are very mindful of water resources, and we'll be talking a little bit about some of our water situation. But we want to make sure that we are attracting higher wage jobs, corporate investment that can come back and invest back into the community. And you can kind of see from, I haven't advanced the whole thing. Our top 10 employers. So there's a number of healthcare, schools, education, Walmart, Ace Hardware, M&I Windows, industry, government, the town, Fry's, a grocery store, another medical services, rehab center, Amazon, and Home Depot. We need to add to that list of other types of high-tech industrial manufacturing that can provide a greater array of jobs to our community. So there's a lot of effort that's being put into that. If you are interested in economic development, on our webpage, we have our whole economic roadmap that you can read and kind of look at kind of our strategies of how we're going to try to do that. These are some, I think, exciting announcements of things that are coming, into our community, and I'll just kind of highlight a few of them. The Marriott, which you've, all seen on there at Glassford Hill by the Toyota Center, that is expected to open in November. I had the opportunity to go with our building team the other day and actually tour it, and it's just going to be a great hotel property for the community. And I think helping to serve the Toyota Center with events, that gives us, our community, a lot more options when we have big events where people, can stay not, just at the Hampton, but now we have a whole nother option there. Healthcare has been a critical issue in the community. We did a community survey this past year. Healthcare came out as one of the top concerns that our residents have. And so we've been working very hard with the YRMC as well as any other medical providers to try to bring additional things. And so the council just approved a new building that's going to be on Highway 69 down in the southern part of the community. So Assura Healthcare. Home 2 is another hotel project that will be near the Pruitt's area right there. They have not started on that particular project. Homewood Suites would be another one across the way from the current Hampton Inn. There's a vacant lot there on Glassford Hill. The Take 5, and then there was Breaks Plus should be opening pretty soon right next to Fry's. And so that's a new vehicle service place. And then Aldi, with a new grocery store. So Aldi is a grocery store. It is going to be going on Glassford Hill Road between Kohl's area and the Walmart. There's a vacant area right in there, right off of Veterans Way. And, this is very important. This is, again, another in our community survey, people wanting more grocery options. We got a lot of feedback about why did the town pick that location? We don't pick the location where a business goes. It obviously has to go where it's properly zoned. But Aldi, their business model is they want to go where there's a lot of traffic. We did try to encourage them to go to North PV, north of 89A in the Viewpoint and Pronghorn area. We actually have an incentive that the town council approved for that. Not specifically for Aldi, but just for a grocery store in general. And they said, no, absolutely not. We need to be near Walmart, where the traffic is, and that. But we're excited to have another grocery store option in our community, and we're going to continue to work to try to attract other grocery store options. Just a couple highlights of things that we're doing to help support the business community. The Shop Local 365 campaign was launched last year, and it's just a reminder, shop local as much as you can. If there's a store here where you can pick it up, don't buy it somewhere else, buy it here. Because every time you shop in your hometown, that's money that's going back to pay for the police, the roads, the parks, and all the other amenities that we have. We do get sales tax off of online orders, so that's good. So shop away at home. So whether it's Amazon or other retailers that you can order things from home. So it's very important that we continue to encourage people to support our local businesses as much as possible. Restaurant Week for this year is kicking off. Again, this is just an opportunity to engage all of our restaurants and our residents in trying to come out and try new things, try different restaurants, and to really encourage people to, again, frequent those different restaurant establishments. They need, obviously, customers, and if people aren't coming in, we continue to lose restaurants. And I know that, for many of us, we want to have more options of places to go out and eat, whether it's, we have a large number of fast food. I know many people want to see more sit-down opportunities, but we've got to make sure that we support that. And this is just a campaign to really make it fun. Many of the restaurants that are participating do have deals. So if you go to our website, you can see who will be signing up and providing different specials during Restaurant Week. That Explore PVAZ is really our effort at, trying to make sure that we're providing services and information to visitors coming into the town. With the new hotels coming online, some of the other amenities that are coming into PV, we want to make sure that people that are choosing to stay in our community can find different things to do. And it's not just within our town. We work closely with Prescott and the broader region to make sure that we're highlighting all of the different amenities in Yavapai County. And then Moonshot is a program that it's sort of like Shark Tank for businesses here in the area. And one of our local businesses, that's Bark, the dog store, the one that I show, let me get the exact name, PV Bark, actually had won last year's Moonshot, and they received a financial award, and that helped them to establish their business here in PV and expand here in PV. So very exciting on that front. So a lot of things that are taking place. A lot of people think it's just PV's been about housing growth. It's not. We're really trying to make sure that we've got a diversification of different types of industry, manufacturing, and then retail amenities for all of our residents and people that come and visit here in PV. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Utilities Director, Neil Wadsworth. You need that.
I think so. Good evening. So utilities, we essentially take care of all of your water, your wastewater. We also do recharge and reclaimed water, which is water that we've treated at the wastewater treatment plant and typically gets served to the Stone Ridge Golf Course. Obviously, we could talk about water all night. Water is a very important topic in Arizona. What I'd like to do, though, is just focus on a number of highlights that we're doing, and I'll be around afterwards, so if you have any other more specific questions, we can talk about those then. I've also, before I forget, put some materials on the back table related to our Water Smart program and a few other things that we've got going on, so stop by there on your way out. So one of the neat things that we're doing is we're trying to recharge more stormwater back into the ground. As you all know, we've got a lot of clay soils here, and when we get heavy rains, like the really heavy monsoons, most of that water hits the clays and goes in the ditches, and it goes down the Agua Fria, and actually goes down to Phoenix. It doesn't stay up here. And so what we're trying to do is to see if we can get more water through the clay soils into the ground. A project that we're looking at kicking off here within the next couple of months is a project which utilizes a very unique technology. It's called Parjana. I have an example of it right here. This looks like a white churro, just so you kind of get a feel for it. And that's what it looks like right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to construct two basins. One will be a control basin where we will just construct it. It'll look exactly like the other one, but we're not going to do anything else to it. And we'll put water in it, and we'll measure how the water infiltrates into the ground in a natural drainage basin. And then we're going to build an identical basin, and we're going to put it into the bottom of the basin, and these things can get up to be about 40 feet long. So we're penetrating down into the soil through some of the clays and the particles that really kind of bind together and don't let the water infiltrate very quickly. So we're going to break through that and give the water a path to follow down along these channels. And so this is going to go, at least it's planning on going up in the Pronghorn area. There's a place called Unit 21 that the developer is going to be building homes in, but we are going to put two basins in there prior to that happening. And we're going to test this over a period of about a year. So, that's the good thing. The unfortunate thing about that is that we have to test it using potable water from our distribution system. And that's because even though ultimately this will be for stormwater recharge, we can't rely on when we're going to get a storm in Arizona. It's like right now it's raining a lot, but a month or a month and a half ago it was raining not hardly at all. And so we need to be able to control the amount of water we put into these basins, measure how much sinks into the ground, compare the two basins. So we're going to be filling them up about once a month over the course of a year. And monitoring all that and seeing if this is something that we can put in more places in Prescott Valley. There's one other location in Arizona that is looking at this stuff. It's the Red Rock area down in southern Arizona. And, they're testing it right now with some pretty good results, but obviously they have different soils down there than we have up here. They don't have the clays like we do, so we're going to test it up here. So getting this stuff into the ground quicker also limits the amount that we have of the evaporation. If stuff is sitting in basins and not going in very quickly, but we've captured it, a lot of that just evaporates. So the quicker we can get it 10, 15, 30 feet down, then the quicker it will quit evaporating and we'll keep more of that water. I think I've covered some of this. Past studies suggested that these devices can increase the vertical hydraulic conductivity by 10-fold. So in other words, 10 times faster into the ground. We did get a loan from WIFA, which is the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority in Arizona. But the loan also has a portion of forgivable principal. And so we applied for a let me back up. I'm getting my projects confused. This project is a grant and a loan. So it's a 60% loan, 40% grant. And the total amount of the project currently is about $670,000. So like I said, 40% of that is a grant that we won't have to repay. And then we are also working with the Salt River Project down in the Phoenix area. They are interested in this project and seeing if this technology will work because it could be used in other parts of Arizona. And obviously they're a large water provider down there. And so they are going to be also helping to contribute to this project as a partner. So this is something that's cool. It's going to happen fairly soon. And let's see, there's the piece of equipment. So they drill the holes into the ground and then they push these things all the way through there. Let's see, yeah, conduct side-by-side control basin, test basin, and hopefully we'll see really good results from this. Yes, sir? The basins are going to be, they're not too large. Essentially, each one will fit on a single-family home style lot. So you know what the normal size residential lots are in the Pronghorn Ranch area. So each basin will sit on one lot, and they're going to be about 600 feet apart so that one does not influence the other. But they'll be up there, and then after we get done, then we'll turn those lots back over to the developer, and then they'll use those. So that kind of covers all of that. We are doing a lot of other things as well. So we're doing a wastewater treatment plant master plan to plan out the future of processes and when we need to make upgrades to the treatment plant. A couple of things that we're doing are related to the PFAS chemicals that you all have heard about. The PFAS chemicals are in a number of our wells, and we've been hit primarily in the Quailwood area. We've got 3 wells down there that have elevated levels above the EPA limits. And so one of the things that we're doing is a PFAS treatment pilot project at our Quailwood well number 3, and that'll be followed up by actual construction of a PFAS treatment system. That project is the one where we also went to the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority, and we asked them for $4.2 million. And that one's the one that has principal forgiveness as part of the loan as well. So I think you're going to be pretty excited to hear this. We have forgivable principal of 90%. So $3.7 million we will not have to pay back. Okay, so I know as a homeowner, I wish my bank would tell me that, but I haven't heard from them lately. They want all their money. So that's one of them. The other PFAS-related project is that we are constructing a pipeline, or will be constructing one, from Stone Ridge over to the Prescott Country Club along the Old Black Canyon Highway alignment. And so that'll be a 16-inch diameter water main that will connect the upper area of Prescott Valley. So this area up here, which serves all the residents here up in Pronghorn Ranch, Granville, and over to Stone Ridge, will then connect down to what we call the lower part of our system, which is the Prescott Country Club and the Quailwood and the 169 area. So that area down there has more PFAS in the wells down there. Up here we have only one well, actually 2 wells that we've detected PFAS in, but neither one of them is over the EPA limit. And all the other wells we have not detected it in. So we have 26 wells throughout town. So what we're doing is we're connecting this area, which has a lot of water that's not affected, to the area down there. And that's because If at some point we have other wells down there that are affected, we've been shutting those wells off. We've not been operating them. It's possible at some point either because of that or because we do have to take our operating wells out of service from time to time to repair them and so forth. Taking a well out of the ground, typically that's a 1, 2, or 3 month process to take it out of the ground, do whatever repairs are necessary, and then get it back in. So when those things happen, we need to have a backup supply of water. This main along the Old Black Canyon Highway will provide additional redundancy to that area. Yes, ma'am. We cannot quit discharging into the Agua Fria. That's basically the only place we have to put the water. And so part of the point of that is that we do know that there is PFAS in our wastewater treatment plant effluent. And that's possibly why it's down in the Quailwood area, wells down in that location. And, people have asked, well, where did this PFAS come from? Why is it in Prescott Valley in our wells? And we don't know why it showed up in the wells, like up in our North well field. We have one well where it's been up there detected. But we do know that that well and other wells in that area are closer to the Prescott Airport, where they have also detected PFAS. We can't say that that's where it's necessarily coming from because we've only had one well up there and a bunch of other wells in that same area have not had PFAS detected in. So we don't know. I think what we're guessing, though, is that the PFAS that is in all of the products that all of our citizens consume, whether it's, or use, that make it down the drain. So things like cosmetics, sunscreen, all of those things have PFAS in them. Your frying pans, that's PFAS. Anything with grease or oil or water repellent in it, like your Scotchgard type things. Lots and lots and lots of things have PFAS in them these days, and they have detected it in every single part of the world, including the Antarctica and the North Pole, where people don't live. They've detected it in those locations, and pretty much everybody has it in their bloodstream now. Okay, so the waste products that come from your homes go to our wastewater treatment plant. The treatment plant does not treat PFAS, okay? So we know that we're discharging it and we've measured it. So it does go downstream. It will get into areas down south of here, and you're gonna find that at any wastewater treatment plant in the country. Yes, sir? No. No, we do not. We have not been mixing any water. The Little Pete well is the well in the North well field that we did detect PFAS in. The levels that we've tested it at, it is less than the EPA maximum contaminant level that they've specified as being the regulatory limit. And so we're lower than that number. So at this point, we're fine up there. And just so everybody knows, the EPA limits, even though they have promulgated them and they said, okay, these are the numbers we're looking at, there is some flux in what they're actually going to enforce and not enforce at this time. But they actually don't go into effect for several more years. So even though everybody's aware of it, the EPA is giving everybody time to start addressing these issues within their system and not just, clamping down and saying, okay, stop today and you can't exceed this number. We have told our citizens that if we detect PFAS in our wells and it's above that limit, we would not turn those wells on, and we have not done that yet. So there's 3 wells down in the Quailwood area that are turned off that we have not turned back on again. There's a well just right here on Lake Valley Road, south of the Civic Center, that has been off as also because it has PFAS above the limits there. Little Pete, fortunately for us, because it's a very good producing well, is less than that number. And then one thing not listed up there, we're embarking on a a conservation plan for the town of Prescott Valley. We're in talks with a consultant right now and working up the scope of work. There will be a component of that will be public participation, whether it's some kind of an online survey or whatever, and we're going to have some public engagement with that as well. And we'll hopefully see something good come out of that in this next, 6 months to a year. Let's see. That's it, I'm done. Like I said, I will be around afterwards. Yes, sir? So all of our water comes from the aquifer beneath our feet here. So this is the Agua Fria sub-basin of the aquifer, and then north of 89A is what they call the Little Chino sub-basin, and that's connected to the same one that Chino Valley pulls out of, but we don't get any water specific directly from Chino Valley. All of ours come from wells in Prescott Valley. I don't know if that's the question you were. All right, next, Chief Bob Tyser.
Thanks, Neil. Did you take the clicker? Yeah, I got to have the clicker.
He did it to me, so
It's the water guys. All right, thank you for having me. I know several of you in the room here. For those that I haven't had the pleasure to meet yet, my name is Bob Tyser. I'm the Chief of Police here, your police chief here in Prescott Valley. So I have a short presentation, about 5 minutes or so. Going to give you some data here and talk a little bit about what the police department does. Well, I should go back there for just a second. Anyway, what you just saw in there was our mission statement of the police department, and there is a word in there that we still do here in Prescott Valley. That's enforce the law. We enforce the law with integrity, and we do that with respect. But your police department is a proactive police department that still enforces the law. Now, that's not happening all over the United States, but in this community, we do that, and we do it professionally and fairly to keep the crime down in our community so we keep you safe. Thank you. And you heard, I appreciate that, traffic enforcement. Of all the complaints that I get on a daily basis, that's number one. That's what we hear about. And it's probably one of the most stressful things that you deal with as citizens driving around our community every day. You get in a vehicle and you operate it and you go down the roadways and sometimes on the highways, and that is pretty serious business. It's actually one of the most dangerous things we do every day. So we take that very serious. The complaints come into the police department, and we look at the 3 E's of traffic safety right there. That's a homework assignment for you that I want you to memorize, because when I see you in council meetings or around the community, I'm going to say, what's the 3 E's of traffic safety? And you're going to say enforcement, engineering, and education. We have to have those 3 in there to do that. And that's something that we really focus on. To reduce traffic crashes, improve safety in our community, we do that through directed patrols. We have a very proactive traffic enforcement unit, the use of patrol cars, unmarked cars, and police motorcycles. And we also challenge our patrol officers to focus on traffic safety in addition to our traffic officers who that's their primary responsibility as they go out throughout the areas. DUI enforcement, I started in law enforcement in this state a long time ago, and I thought there would be no DUI problem by the time I finished up my career. But boy, was I wrong. We still have that in our society. We have it in our communities. We have it in our state. It's not just alcohol, but it's drugs, both prescription, illicit drugs, could be other substances, and we focus on the impaired drivers. And I'll show you some data that really shows the significant arrests that we're making with impaired driving in our community. And it can be a combination of all those. We do come across drivers that have alcohol and other intoxicating substances, polydrug use, if you would call it that. Crime stats. So as Gilbert was talking about, we go around to HOAs throughout the community and give presentations. And when we do that, I like to give the data that is specific to that geographic area. But tonight, since we're right here in central Prescott Valley, I'll just give the data for the overall picture of the town. And our records division compiles a report for me and for our commanders monthly, and we compare our data in a variety of different data sets, both traffic and crime statistics to the previous month and the previous 12 months. So we're always staying on top of that. We're always paying attention to that. So here's some of the data that you'll see right there. Traffic enforcement, again, Prescott Valley, I grew up in Prescott, and we knew back then when I was a kid, once Prescott Valley PD came about, and it started with just 5 officers, just a little over 40 years ago. Now we have 89 officers and 109 staff on the department combined. We always knew don't speed on Highway 69 as you came through Prescott Valley because it was always a proactive traffic enforcement agency. So for the last 40 plus years, it's always been that way, but we've increased our traffic enforcement based on the crashes that we have in town and also from what our community says. They want traffic enforcement. So you can see the numbers right there, a little over 11,000 traffic stops in the last 12 months. Citations, an increase of about 19%. So you can look at the math right there, 6356. You subtract that from the 11,493. That means we give out warnings too. And I challenge our officers to make very good decisions out there, to use discretion, change a person's driving behavior. And sometimes that can be done with a warning. Sometimes it's a citation that needs to be done. And our officers make really good decisions as they go about that. Other offenses, those are increased a little bit, and those fluctuate from month to month as we look at that. Our arrests have been coming down a little bit, and I think that's a good thing. We have a really good community here with good citizens that make pretty good decisions. So we're seeing some reductions in arrest, and we're seeing some of our crime go down. So that's a really good data set that I like to look at. You can see the total crashes. Gilbert and I have been looking at, as we look at reducing our car crashes in town, we know the population's going up. So really, it's difficult to just reduce car crashes by raw numbers with the population going up, but we're actually seeing some slight reductions in car crashes on raw numbers. But we are going to be comparing that data to car crashes per 1,000 residents. So we're going to be paying attention to that. But right now, the direction of car crashes in this community is looking pretty good. I mean, still, that's a lot of people involved in wrecks here in our community. And the footprint of Prescott Valley, it's rather large. We're responsible for a huge geographic area, all the way up to Mingus West and out by 89A on the way to Prescott, 69, that big portion, most of the way down to Dewey, and then all of this area. So we have a lot of responsibility. The state highways that run through our community, 69, 89A, and portions of Fain Road, those are state roads. And if they're within the town jurisdiction or limits of Prescott Valley, that's our responsibility to take the investigation of those collisions in there. The state highway patrol, Arizona DPS, will take that primarily outside of the town. So we do take those collisions on those state highways, and those numbers go into that data that you see right there. Our most serious crimes that we have in the community, you can see we're seeing a significant reduction in crime in there. And we believe that is because there's a lot of good people in the community, but our officers are very proactive and very visible out there, and we're working to keep those numbers down. That's still a lot if you're a victim, for sure. And we have great victim advocates in our department that help with victims when they find themselves in a situation they become a victim of crime. We'll help them through that process because that's super important, because that's just unsettling if you are a victim of crime. Response times. That number right there, I can tell you we benchmark a lot of our data against it's called the Benchmark City Survey, which is put together by Overland Park, Kansas Police Department. They benchmark 20-some different law enforcement agencies from sampling around the U.S. You're not going to find one better than that as far as reduction or response times. Those are for the emergency responses in our community. So that fluctuates maybe 10 to 15 to 20 seconds, give or take, each month as we look at that. But I'm not sure we can get that better. Now, that 3 minutes is a long time for a citizen to wait for a police officer if there's emergency. But when we look at that data out there, it's pretty quick, and the officers are on that. And I can tell you, we have our officers in the field. I know you see the officers out there in the black and white patrol cars. We want them in the field. We have their cars set up with their computer systems in there so they can write most of their reports while they're in the car. They can stay out in the field rather than being in the office. Occasionally, they have to come in for a variety of reasons, booking somebody or handling evidence or meeting with the citizen, but mostly we keep them out in the field for high-profile policing. So I'm really, really proud of that number right there. Community subdivisions. This is just a sampling of what we do when we go out into our subdivisions. We give them data specific to their area, so we want to show that. And some of the things that we're doing here in the community is not just about enforcement. It's about being out in the community. So you see some of the programs that we're involved in there. We have a really good community program group led by Jody Mullins. We do neighborhood watches out there. So you as citizens in this community, if you're going on vacation or leaving somewhere, you may be going back out to Michigan or California or somewhere, wherever you're from, or you want to go somewhere for a couple of weeks, you can get a hold of us at the police department. Let us know that you're going to be out. There's no cost to you. And we will have our volunteers, and we have over 40 volunteers on the police department now, get out there and check on your home. Make sure your house is safe. Make sure it's fine. If we find one unattended, a broken window or something like that, those volunteers will step back, call a police officer, and go over there and investigate that for you. So we think that's super important. We'd like to do that, and just give us a call, and we'll gladly do that for you. Youth outreach, doing a lot in the schools. I will tell you, we have an exceptional school resource officer program here. That's supported by our town council and also Humboldt Unified School District. We have 4 police officers and a sergeant assigned to our schools, our high schools, our middle schools, and then also proactively throughout our elementary schools. And I would challenge you to find a school resource officer program that robust anywhere. It's exceptional. And I also want people to know, because I often hear, we want police officers in all the schools. I hear that. I understand that. But it's really not something that we can do right now, but it's important to know that our officers in the field that aren't in the schools, like our traffic officers or patrol officers or myself or my commanders or our detectives, we're on the radio, we're paying attention all the time. So we can get to our schools very fast, especially with those numbers you saw in response times. Plus the officers are in the schools. So it's all of us that are there for our children and our staff at the schools. Crime prevention through environmental design, working with Stacy and I, just had a great conversation the other day about working with our planning department here to make sure when businesses go up, we take a look at it from an environmental design picture to make sure it's being put up in the safest way possible for, making sure, like there's not a lot of shrubs right here where people can hide behind to get in the windows and things like that. And we'll also come out and do that for you. So if you're interested in that, just give us a call and we'll help you with that. And then Citizens Police Academy, we have one going on over at the police department right now tonight. I was just talking to a few folks as they were getting in there. I'm gonna go over and catch up with them in just a few minutes too to say hello to them. I see a few people in here who have been through that. We do that every fall. It's a lot of fun. We host it for 8 or 9 weeks. I think it's 9 weeks on one night a week for like 2 months. And we give you all the stuff that goes on in the police department, including all the cool stuff like SWAT and motorcycles and canines. And by the way, our canine program is one heck of a canine program. We have 4 Belgian Malinois, and they are exceptional dogs for detecting illicit drugs and also for handler protection. And they have a motto that is us before them. And that means those dogs who are so loyal to our handlers, so loyal to our department, they go in before an officer goes in. So they're there to keep our community safe. And by the way, all those dogs and mostly everything that goes into it are purchased and funded through private donations here in our community. There's one gentleman that's up out of the Prescott area. He's a retired lieutenant from the Los Angeles Police Department, and he's bought every single dog for Prescott Valley PD, Prescott PD, Chino Valley PD, and the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office for more than a decade. He purchased those dogs just because that's what he wants to do, and he doesn't want any recognition. I know who he is, but he doesn't want anybody to know. And those dogs, with the training and everything that goes into them, about $15,000 a piece. So we got a great canine program. Senior safety checks, another program. I know I'm going over, Gilbert, but usually I'm cut short. We went pretty quick tonight, so I got the mic, so thank you. Senior safety checks, we just started that recently. One of our volunteers got that idea from California, where she had served as a volunteer in a police department over there. And now we are making that available for our seniors in the community, primarily shut-ins, people who are here that do not have family here. Their family's in another state. Maybe they don't have family. We're connecting with them and checking on them at least weekly to see how they're doing, making sure that they have connections in our community, social service, whatever they need to be able to help them out. So our volunteer are out there actively working that as well too. So really great program. I think I mentioned the House Watch. I think Neighborhood Watch was the first one. That should switch those. House Watch is what I was talking about earlier. Neighborhood Watch is kind of that traditional block watch. And for those of you that participated in National Night Out in August, those are primarily set up by block watch captains and their friends in their neighborhood who put together those parties, and we support that. We help those communities out, those neighborhoods out, because truly, if neighbors know each other and they pay attention to each other, there's not going to be much crime in your neighborhood. It's going to be handled because you're going to know what's going on there. And then you'll call us when you really need us, but most time, neighbors are going to be able to take care of each other if they know each other. So there's the second challenge of the night. Know your neighbor. And I think that's about it. I'm going to be here throughout the evening. And yes, I see a couple questions. Gilbert, you want to take them? I'll take them real quick. Yes, sir. Oh, boy. Great. Thank you. I'm sorry you got in a wreck. That's no fun, but I'm glad we were able to help you. Yes, ma'am. It's going to be up to we want the alarm company to be able to verify that it's something other than just alarm, that there is some type of visual in there, that there's, somebody outside the residence, inside the residence, there's a car idling in the driveway. So we're going to want that verified because we just don't have the resources to go to every single alarm call that goes out throughout the community. We expect that the alarm companies will give you that service and then call us when they believe somebody's actually breaking in. Otherwise, we'd just be tied up at people with false alarms all the time. Yeah. Yes, sir. Hi. Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you, our motor officers and our traffic officers are on that roadway, Glassford Hill over there, 89A daily. And I would say they're writing tickets until their hands are sore, but now they're typing them in the computer. So I think their fingers are getting sore from typing so much because they just push the button, print out the ticket. And our motor cops are writing upwards 20, 25 tickets a day each, just those officers out there. And a lot of that is on Glassford Hill. So you're right. There's speeders out there and we're staying on them every day. But it's amazing to me. I kind of like the DUI thought. I thought if we just wrote tickets all these years, eventually people would stop driving drunk and speeding, but they're still out there. And that's why you have these fine officers out there doing that every day. Yeah, when 3 lanes, we'll stay on top of that for sure. Yes, ma'am. Did somebody have a question over here? Okay, thank you for the question. Gilbert, I think I'll turn it over. I'll be here till as long as you need me and answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. So, thank you. We're going to open up for any questions from any of our team members, but if there's other topics anyone wants to bring up. I did want to mention just kind of a takeaway. The chief mentioned the police academy. We have 2 other academies that are really informative if you have any interest. And I know some of you have participated with them in the past. The first is our PV Citizens Academy. It's an 8-week-long program. We have one that's actually going on right now. So there'll be another one in the spring. And if you go to our website, you can get information on how to sign up for that. It's a great program. It goes into a lot more depth with every department and provides a lot of good information. We just added another academy. It's our Water Academy. And our water, someone from our water team provides that one. And that one's a 3-class program, give or take. And they do a thing at the wastewater treatment plant and talk about all of the other water type stuff. So that's a really good one if you want to just kind of focus on water related issues. And then I have my cell phone because I want to encourage, we do have a mobile app for the town called Our PV. You can download it on Apple or Android. And this is a great way to let us know if there's issues, problems in the community. You don't have to go, call someone. You don't have to necessarily come to a council meeting. You can put it in on your Our PV app, and you can take a picture. Let's say it's a pothole, graffiti, whatever. There's a whole series of different categories. So I encourage you, if that's an easy way if you want to report things going on throughout the town of Prescott Valley. And then we're always looking for volunteers. So if people, several of the departments talked about opportunities. We love when people want to be engaged with the community, and there's ways to plug people into different interests, whether it's the library, public safety, and we've got a number of different volunteer positions within the town hall complex. So with that, I will open it up for questions. And then let's make sure we repeat. I think just so that people that we are recording this for people that are watching from home. So the question is about the Lakeshore Drainage Project, correct? Okay.
We have a project that's currently under design, and it's along the Lakeshore Channel. You've seen the wash that goes down through there adjacent to Lakeshore. There's a few locations where over time, as the channel has eroded, it's gotten to the point where the erosion is encroaching close to the roadway embankment for Lakeshore. So we developed a project to stabilize some of the channel in that area, and we'll be installing some guardrail in some of the locations to help protect where the erosion is starting to encroach closer to the edge of the road. And I'll add one other item that I forgot to mention when I was up here talking about the Glassford Hill Road widening. We're currently in the final stages of design. I spent most of today reviewing plans just to go through the plans of where the engineering consultant is in their design. We're hoping to have that wrapped up this fall to get advertisement out for construction bids. Hopefully start construction this winter, maybe into spring.
We'll go over here. Oh, popular tonight. Make sure you repeat that.
You go through and you resurface the roads every year. On any of the roads, it's bump. Fix those before we resurface them. I can give you some streets from Tuscany on to Prescott East Highway. There's 4 areas that are pretty bad.
Yeah, the town does have an annual resurfacing program. It's actually on our website right now. You can go to the town's website under Public Works, and there's a map that shows which roads are scheduled for resurfacing. That's a program where the town hired a consultant to come out and evaluate all the pavements and put together a priority program for how to plan that resurfacing. If you have a specific location, like you were just describing with Granville Fairway, that would be a great opportunity for you to download the app that Gilbert was talking about and put those concerns in there, and maybe even with your contact information, and somebody can reach out to you and get a little bit more specific information. Oh, now the bump at Jasper we're very aware of, and we do have a project that we're planning on getting out very soon. We did get a bid from a contractor to go fix that. That was a bit of a unique situation where the developer who designed the Jasper Parkway extension that you see today, when they connected to the Copper Hill intersection, they really didn't continue their design through that. So it was something that was sort of discovered after the fact, so to speak. We did take a look at the operations of that alignment. You'll notice, especially as you're driving southbound, the posted speed is reduced from 35 down to 25 as the road gets back into the main part of the town with the urban connection heading into 69. And we are aware of that. We do have a project coming to get that fixed, and hopefully we'll get that taken care of soon, and you won't spill your coffee as you're driving south.
I was gonna say it was all by design. It's called a speed reduction hump. And yeah, if you go 25, you go over it fine. But if you go any higher than that, good. Yep. And then we'll go. So good question. So the question is, how do we know how much water we have here in this valley? So our water it's regulated and overseen by the Arizona Department of Water Resources. And so ADWR is what certifies that there's at least 100-year plus supply of water. The town, and we hear this a lot. There's a lot of discussion about water, concern about water. I'm a native Arizonan, and water through the entire state of Arizona, it's a concern throughout our entire state. And our situation here in PV is, we're not in I'm not worried about today's water issues. It's long term. It's making sure future generations that we've got sustainable water supplies. So, when Neil was talking about like our stormwater project, our wastewater that we try to recharge, and a number of other strategies that we have, that's all tied to that ADWR of the recharge water that we're putting back into the aquifer. So that is monitored closely by the state. In terms of a volume metric, how many gallons there are, no one has that. There's no one that can tell you exactly, how much water is beneath any particular aquifer. We pay very close attention to our well sites. So, Neil kind of highlighted that sometimes we have wells off. Sometimes we intentionally are shutting wells down to rest part of the aquifer. So, and we do notice that water levels will come back up as we use other parts of the system. So we're always kind of monitoring that. And then again, that's all through the state as we kind of monitor and report that information to them. Then, sorry, you got to be quicker.
Housing, manufacturing, and industrial industries coming in. For let's say 400 units coming in.
So the question is how do we judge what an industry coming in and the impact that it would have on water type of thing?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
The town's going to grow no matter what. I'm going to bring industry, manufacturing, and then I'll take water, of course, the housing and that kind of thing. So you have to kind of revise your projection, how much water is going to be used.
We do have to, and again, work with the state on that in terms of, and I can tell you there's been a number of businesses that wanted to come to PV and they would have been phenomenal employers, but they used a lot of water. And we said, we're not the place for you. So we do not have, the volume of water that you are wanting to use for your particular industrial or manufacturing processes. So we are selective like that. And we do want to make sure that we're bringing in types of businesses that are not going to overtax our particular water system. So we do monitor that. The state, there has been loopholes in state water law. One of them, a good example of one, is apartments and properties that are not subdivided, like a residential subdivision is subdivided and you are the owner of a particular piece of plot. Well, in an apartment complex, it's a commercial entity. Well, under state law, there's an exemption where they don't have to comply with that 100-year water supply. And they don't have to bring water to the table. And so that is something our team and our town council approved an ordinance that now requires apartments, even though the state doesn't require it. We require that they have to bring water to the table. And so we're always looking for those types of things where we can just make sure that, again, we're protecting our future water resources, but also making sure this is a place where we can have jobs and industry and whatnot. Yep. What's the balance? Yeah, it is a balance. It is a balance, right? Yep. We have to always monitor that. That's right. Attainable housing. So we actually have a study session on Thursday. We're going to be giving an overview on that. So there are going to be some highlights of strategies of what we'll be looking at. So, I'll give you kind of a preview of a few of them. One we'll be looking at, when I talked about that statistic of our median wage and then what our housing costs are, you can't have a sustainable community when you have that dynamic, right? We've got to make sure that we can have, all levels of workers being able to be a part of our community. And so one of them will be if we had a fund that was set up where if we had a true workforce housing project, something that is, however you want to define affordable, and it met the criteria, this fund could cover some of the impact fee and other fee type costs, which helps reduce some of the overall burden that gets passed along to the individual, homeowner or person that may be leasing a particular project. So the things like that, we'll be working, not only the town will be looking at this, but we'll be working with other employers. That employer list that I gave up there, like the hospital is a good example. If we could do a down payment assistance program. So let's say you have employees that make below a certain dollar amount. I'll just make up a number. Let's say $75,000. They make less than that. And, they want to try to buy their first home. There could be some money that could be used as a match, and a lien would get put on that property. So the government or the entity would get paid back, but they at least get some assistance so that they can try to get a home and be a part of the community. So we'll be looking at some different strategies like that as well. So thank you. Good question. Any other questions? Okay. Well, we are here. If anyone wants to come up and talk about individual things, we'd love to do that. We're always open. Please, if you want to learn more about the town or you have, ideas or concerns about anything, don't hesitate to come down to town hall, set up an appointment. We'd love to talk with you. This is our town, all of us. We all love this town. And we want to continue to make this a great and wonderful and healthy and dynamic community for all of us. And we want to make sure that we pass it on to future generations in the same way that we were, given the opportunity to be a part of here. And so I do want to thank our team and we've got some outstanding professionals who care deeply about the community, and we all are working really, really hard to try to provide excellent service to each and every one of you. So with that, have a great evening, and thank you.